So I'm planting garlic today, and this is the kind of size of bulb that I like. I've got another one here. Um, they're not huge, but they're medium-sized and good and healthy. And I'm perfectly happy to plant bulbs of that size. And obviously, I'm just going to break that up into individual cloves, but I'm not going to do it now because I'm saving this one for planting later. And you really don't want to break them up into cloves until you're ready to plant them. And there's not a lot to it. Basically, it just comes down to where you're going to plant it. It's a super reliable crop. I am doing it in quite a few different places, and I'm doing green garlic and I'm doing garlic for drying, for storage as bulbs like this. So where am I planting it? So the first place I'm planting it is in the polytunnel, and I'm planting it in between the lettuces in the polytunnel. I'm only doing, I think, 24 bulbs like that, just as an experiment really, to get them maybe a little bit earlier, and also to see whether I can get them a little bit bigger, and also as a kind of slight hedge against rust, because last year we had really bad rust, and I'm expecting that you will get less rust in the polytunnel. So that's the reason for the polytunnel planting. Now on Debbie's plot, we have just lugged a whole load of well-rotted horse manure down to her plot, and you can see it there all around the edge of the bed. And she has put a kind of ring around the edge, around the perimeter of the bed, of two garlic cloves, and she's put them in 8 inches apart because we've got quite a lot of space in that bed. And so maybe about 100 bulbs or something like that have gone into that bed. The centre of the bed is going to be planted with field beans. The idea behind that planting scheme is that come late May time, early June, we'll be planting the winter squash and interplanting that winter squash with sweet corn, but neither of those crops will overpower the garlic before the garlic is harvested in sort of mid-June time. They'll just be about kind of getting to the edges of the bed and overpowering it, but they won't quite be there. So that should mean that the garlic is out before the space is needed by the squash and the sweet corn. So that edge is quite useful. The centre of the bed, as I said, is going to be field beans, and the field beans will be out much earlier on, in good time basically for the squash and the sweet corn to go in. So that's the second planting. The third planting is in the back garden, in the kitchen garden, and there I'm just filling in gaps. So any beds that are kind of coming free that I won't need in early spring, I've just got to fill them with something. And so I've got a choice of field beans or garlic. And generally, this time of year, I'm putting garlic in. The field beans can go in a little bit later for a harvest in early spring. We've got loads of field beans already in the ground that will give us a harvest over winter. And then the final spot is on my plot in between the strawberries in a new strawberry bed. So that new strawberry bed won't overpower the garlic this year, and it probably won't overpower the garlic next year, but it'll certainly overpower the garlic in its kind of third year when it becomes a bit more of a matted mess. And I've got a bed where I previously have done 2 years worth of garlic, and that bed now, the strawberries are just a little bit too big for me to interplant garlic in between them. So that is pretty much it for garlic, apart from the green garlic. And green garlic is exactly the same. It's just that rather than waiting for the garlic bulbs to grow to this sort of size and for the cloves to differentiate, you want to harvest it when the bulb is still a monobulb. So there's no individual cloves, so you can eat the whole bulb, and there's no papery skin in between the newly forming cloves. So there's nothing to process basically. You just eat the whole of the monobulb, and you eat the whole of the stem because you're harvesting it when the garlic is relatively young, in sort of late April, May and early June. At that time, the stem is beautiful and green and tastes, to me at least, like a sweet leek. That's kind of garlicky tasting sweet leek. So I absolutely love it. And for us, that timing, sort of late April, May, early June, that's the time period when we don't have any garlic bulbs left. Now we could pickle some, but we don't always have them pickled, and we don't always have people who like them pickled. So I find, just for me, I haven't got anywhere where I can store garlic so that it's still in good condition by May. And so green garlic fills that gap, and it's really delicious, and it's really prolific as well, because instead of getting one little clove, you're getting a whole monobulb and you're getting the whole stem. So it's way more productive really than growing garlic for storage. So green garlic is definitely a great one, and I'm planting mine, I always plant mine, in the old tomato pots. So what I do is I obviously take the tomatoes out, then I kind of clear off the top 1 inch of compost, because that's where all the old tomato seeds are, and then I put in a 2 or 3 inch mulch sometimes of spent potato compost, and into that I'll incorporate something like bloodfish and bone, and then I'll just push the cloves in, and I put about 10 cloves into a 30-litre pot, I think, something like that, and they do okay. They're not always really big green garlics, but they're always very welcome. So I've got about 15 tubs like that, so something like 150 green garlics, and yeah, it's great. And it also comes, of course, at the time when my leeks are kind of finishing as well, so that's kind of a double bonus. It serves the purpose of a leek and as garlic in most dishes. So that's pretty much everything I've got to say about garlic. There's an ebook down below that talks all about growing garlic and everything else that I grow as well, and you can take a look at that if you want more details. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.